Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get a 1984 Chevrolet, a 1-ton, single rear wheel, big block Chevy pickup running for the first time in a couple years. We are in eastern South Dakota. We're going to load this thing up and head on home. It's getting dark, so we got to get out of here. Dang, look at that sweet Standard Oil sign. All right, it's like a month later. We finally got this thing inside. We finally got some snow. Not too excited about that, but anyway, we're just gonna have to deal with it. The two tires on this side don't even make it through the night. They go flat. That right front goes flat after a couple of weeks. So I hate dealing with flat tires. So let's swap those out. The cool thing about this thing is it's got some pretty good sized tires on it already. And I kind of like the look of them. A couple of them anyway. There's three of these Wranglers on there, and then one is in the back. What are they at? Yeah, 305.75, 305.70.
He done put them big meat Larry Hoovers on the back. 305, come alive, boy.
So 305 millimeters wide, 70% as tall as it is wide. You get the gist of it. They're like probably almost a 33-inch tire. I'm not gonna do the math, but anyway, we got these 235/85, so skinnier but a taller sidewall, which is better in snow, and it should be about the same height, maybe a little bit taller. We got these same tires on Bernie, and they work absolutely phenomenal. So we got another set. Like I said, light truck 235/85, off-road Outlander by the old Rover Claw. So let's get those on there so we don't have to deal with flat tires anymore, because we don't like flat tires, do we, Duff? First things first, yeah, I just pumped those things up and they're already almost flat. And the snow ain't even melted off this thing yet. So let's get her up in the air, get those off of there. I know we should blast them and paint them, but is it really gonna make a difference? Plus, the sandblast in place is not open today and they're probably several days behind. We'll see, we'll think about it, but probably not. Maybe we'll find a different set of rims and take them in. So many ideas. All right, we gotta get these off of there anyway. Let's do it. So the spare was on the right rear, and this is an 850, no, excuse me, a 950 16, I believe. And there you go. 950 16. So yeah, you can see just how much shorter and narrower a stock tire is versus these 305s. I think these 305s look cool, but they're no good on the ice around here. You want a narrow tire and then a tall tire to get through all that dang snow. So these things are going to be way more gooder. These are actually going to be probably close to what the old 850 is. Nope, 950. Yeah, actually pretty close. It's going to be way more good. So we'll get those all mounted up. Should be real good. What do we hate, Duff? Okay, that's a lot of things. Flat tires. Why? Because it looks terrible just sitting around with a flat tire or 4, and it doesn't roll. And if you got flat tires and you leave them sit flat, guess what it does to the rims? Water gets in there and it rusts up your rims. So don't be like the previous owner of this thing and let it sit like that. Tubes are 20 bucks, probably cheaper than that. Anyway, throw 100 bucks at your rig, run it down to the shop, have them stick some tubes in there. Because now it's pitted up so bad that I don't even know if we can get this stuff sandblasted and if it'll hold a bead. A couple of them. Yeah, this one's real bad. Yeah, she's pitted in there. And it sucks. Just sucks. So, you maybe saved yourself 100 bucks by not putting tubes in it, but now at a minimum you're going to spend 100 bucks getting it sandblasted, and then you're going to get it back from that, and you're going to go to the tire guy, and the tire guy's going to be like, that's never going to hold a bead. And then you're going to have to run a tube in it anyway. Or buy a new rim. Look, it was so bad. One of these is just full of hard water. Real hard water. Ugh. Look at that. It's funny that thing even pumped up. All right, so if you got something in your yard with a flat tire, that's what you can do after you get done watching this video and going on mortske.com and getting yourself some Mortske merch. Is go jack that thing up, pump up the tire, or take the tire off, run it down to your local shop and get a tube put in it before you ruin your rim. That's the nice part about aluminum wheels, is this doesn't happen with aluminum wheels. It's only on steel wheels. So, or better yet, jack it up, put it on blocks. There you go. You can go to your local lumber yard and get some cinder blocks or some drop-offs for minimal investment, or set it on an old car battery. No, don't set it on a battery. Don't set it on a battery. And if you're going to set it on cinder blocks, set it the right way, because there is a right way to set your car up on blocks. But that'll keep the car, and that's the other thing, is when these things sink in the dirt, that gets the body that much closer to the dirt, and then it rusts out your floors and your rocker panels, and critters live underneath it. So block it up. There's another thing that costs even less money than putting tubes in it. Are you sick of my rant? Okay. I'll get the wire wheel out and clean these wheels up, and hopefully they'll hold a bead. If not, we'll have to find more rims or get them sandblasted. They do make, I don't know, I call it like blackjack. It's bead sealer. It's, I don't know. I don't approve of it, but it actually works pretty good. And it doesn't make them super hard to remove. Some people say that, but I've taken a bunch loose that I've blackjacked and isn't a problem. Main spot we use it is on late models. The aluminum rims on these late models are porous, or they get pitted because they got some chrome plating on them, and that chrome plating comes off and the air leaks by that. Yada, yada, yada. But all right, maybe we'll take this worst one here and huck that in the scrap pile or put the spare tire on it. But I think we'll steal this spare here. At least these are, well, at least a lot of these pickups came with 16.5s, and they're kind of obsolete. You can still buy 16.5 tires. I don't know that they're much more expensive than 16s, but they used to be unobtainium or something. So at least they're 16-inch rims, but at the same time, if you're going to ruin a rim, I'd just as soon you ruin a 16.5 as opposed to a 16. These are 16x7s, if you care. All right. I'm going to keep mounting and balancing. Took a little digging, but we got our fourth rim. Of course, the spare that was on that thing, I didn't even notice. It's a 16.5 and that doesn't have the safety lip. And anyway, we don't have 16.5 tires. The other thing I was gonna tell you is I didn't balance these things, but kind of I did. So these bigger tires are hard to balance on the machine, and with these big knobs, every time you get a rock in there or mud or whatever, it's gonna throw your balance off. So they make these things called balance beads. These are Magnum, a brand of Martin's Industries, not a paid sponsor, promotion. Hey, get your banner like that at mortske.com. Okay, we don't have that one on hand anymore, but we got other ones. Look at these guys. So fun to play with. Different kinds of beads than you're used to. But anyway, scoop and a half of these for a 235/85. Used them on the Expedition. Seems like they're working pretty good on there, so we'll give it a whirl on this thing. Like I said, I don't really have good luck balancing these big wheels and aggressive tires, so we're gonna run these for a while and see. Comment down below what your experience is with these old balance beads. I know they run them in a lot of big trucks, semi-trucks, over the road stuff, so should be fine. But let's take a look at this thing while we got her up in the air. Looks like we need to put a headlight in it. Somebody must have borrowed that. Hopefully the connector's still there. And oh, of course the surround, it's missing pieces. Maybe they're in the cab. Factory bumperettes, that's an accessory. I think these tow hooks are an accessory. Maybe all four-wheel drives got them. Big old beefy sway bar. It's got a Dana 60 front. And how you can tell that it's a Dana is by, or a 60, by that number stamped right there, 60. That's the one everybody wants. 1 ton, four-wheel drives had it in the GM, and then they made a single rear wheel and a dual rear wheel. The hubs are different, so you want the single rear wheel. Everybody likes these for the rock crawlers. Looks like it's got factory lockouts on it. Ooh, rotor is super chewy. Oh, that's why the steel part of the pad is running. Look at how much different it is in thickness. How do you not hear that? Well, looks like we're going to be doing a brake job. The inside pad looks pretty good, so clearly this caliper was hanging up or not retracting, so see if we can round up a new caliper and pads, hoses, and then obviously we're going to need a rotor because there's no amount of turning that's going to get that back. Well, we could get it smooth, but it wouldn't be within spec. Another thing about these 60s that I don't know a ton about these, the four-wheel drive guys, I love them, but what do they call this, a Kingpin? And then there's something about pinions, high pinions, low pinions, left, right, obtrusive, but they got these, whatever, Kingpins that go in them. And that's how you identify a Dana 60 Kingpin type, I guess. Just crawl underneath. Look and see if it's got a 60 or a 44 or a 70 or whatever on there. Looks like we got a little oil leak coming from that oil sensor up there. It's got a new fuel pump, so that's a plus. Well, what the French? Looks like all the bolts are missing out of this one. They don't look snapped off, but we should probably find some hardware for that. Looks like somebody was in here and put a new ball joint in there, because that's pretty clean. That top one's greasy. This side's all greasy. So yeah, somebody must have not tightened them up or didn't use anti-seize, what have you. Steering sector's leaking like they all do. 1 tons, I think the only difference between a 3/4 and 1 ton other than that front axle is these heavy duty leaf springs. I'm sure the front drive shaft is wore out. Oh, not bad actually. They get all sloppy in these splines up here. Turbo 400, I did see the inspection cover laying up top. I don't know why they had that off. Looks like the bolts are in there, so that's good. We got a Wix filter rebranded by Napa. The old Napa Gold. The Turbo 400 looks pretty clean. So I'm guessing, oh yeah, the engine's way greasier. You can see how greasy the engine is and the trannies not so much. So somebody's gone through that or swapped it or cleaned it anyway. And then we got a 205 gear driven transfer case. So this is like a bulletproof front end. You got the 8 lug, the Dana 60, the 205, the Turbo 400. The old SM 465 is arguably better, but this is the best automatic you're probably going to get in one of these. But anyway, yeah, cast iron case, gear to gear instead of a chain. 203s are full-time, 205s are part-time. So, yeah, that's money right there. U-joints are tight. Oh, so this is our fuel transfer switch to go from left tank to right tank. It looks like that's all bypassed. And it appears we're only running off of the passenger side tank. It's pretty common for these pickups. They had like this tin shield right here. I think that was the bracket for originally. And they would rust out. But this doesn't have the shield on it, so hard to say what might have happened. Floors, cab supports, really solid. Some surface rust starting down there. A little surface rust on the door. Rockers are good. Cab corners rotted through. Not bad though. Same thing over here. Super solid floors. A little surface rust on the rockers. And the cab corners about par with the other side. Maybe not quite as bad. Pretty solid cab though. Ooh. Scotch locks. So somebody's been here before. I don't know why. They must have needed power for something or ground. I don't know. With that big block, we're gonna definitely want to have both tanks working, or we're gonna do a lot of walking or filling up. I think it's either a corporate or a Dana 70 something. It's big. We're not gonna break it. Full floating. Park brake cables ain't been cut yet. Oh my. Oh my. Somebody thought the 454 wasn't loud enough. Oh, of course they got them both. So looks like they took a 1/4 inch drill bit and that wasn't good enough. So then they took the old 1/2 inch drill bit and drilled through a perfectly good set of made in USA mufflers. So I guess we're gonna have to order some new mufflers. And the way you measure mufflers for ordering mufflers, length of the body, diameter of the inlet, and diameter of the outlet, because believe it or not, some of them will come in with a 2.5 and out with a 2 1/4. And then, or vice versa. And then the location. This is an offset front and offset rear. Some of them come in the center and exit the center. Some of them come in offset, exit the center, enter the center, exit offset, stuff like that. So we're gonna have to get some new mufflers coming, because I feel like that's gonna sound absolutely horrendous, like a giant exhaust leak. Don't do that. Don't drill holes in your muffler. Buy the right mufflers if that's the case. Pinion seal's been weeping. Pretty common with these things. Dual exhaust all the way out the back. Looks like the park brake cable is tied up on the brake line. So they're just begging to be deleted. Oh man, look at all the rust around the U-bolt. That's a problem with these things. That saddle that goes over the rear end, it's just a big cup, funnel, whatever, everything sits in there. And they get all rusty and they rot out your U-bolts. Speaking of rotten, it must have a gooseneck or fifth wheel plate, because the floor is a little chewy. Oh, it's got the brake leveling assist valve thinger, and it's all slopped out. Most guys just delete that. That's what we did on the Cowboy Cadillac. So all that does is just proportions how much of your braking power goes to the rear based on how much the pickup is squatted out. Like I said, full floater rear, you could slide that axle out and still make it down the road wheel, ain't gonna fall off. A little bit of rust in the old box support. It doesn't have the overload springs. I got that typical rust there. Even the super solid Oklahoma trucks get it. There's 2 pieces of metal in there. Dirt sits in between them, can't get out. Rusts them out. Same thing with over the rear wheels. There's an inner fender, and then the outer fender, dirt sits in there. And does what you see there. Somebody put some aftermarket mud flaps on there with some 1 1/4 inch square tubing. Add-on tow bumper that's all schmucked up, driving by feel. Some rust in the bottom of the tailgate. It's got the silly lights that apparently were required by the government. All the 1-tons have them. Dualies, single wheel, everything. Like I said, I think you can get 2 rear ends in these, corporate and a Dana. I don't know the difference. To be honest, I don't really care. Well, look at that. Funny, we were was talking about that leaf spring. U-bolt. Looks like that guy is she's rotted all the way through. Definitely gonna want to fix that. And I'm guessing they're all down to toothpicks. Stalactites everywhere. All right. Well, we're talking about dimensions. So in order to order U-bolts, you need to know what thread they are. Usually they're 7/16, ½ inch, 9/16, and 5/8. These look like a 5/8. And then obviously you need to measure your length. So from the top of the leaf spring down to here, and then your width. And it's usually the width of the spring. So I think these are a 2.5 inch springs. So 5/8 by 2.5 by however long that is, like, I don't know, 10 inches, something like that. And yeah, those things, U-bolts are not cheap. So, but at the same time, you don't want them failing or bad things happen. So we're gonna measure those and get some U-bolts coming. The old shocks look like they've experienced a few days. Yeah, look at this bed floor. I bet there's a 5th wheel plate up there, and that plate's bolted to the bed floor, and dirt sits in between and never gets out of there. It's kind of unfortunate. Looks like a bunch of, oh yeah, see, this is why I don't like white zip ties. They just crumble. Black ones don't do that. Somebody had a trailer socket scotch clipped in place, so they probably ruined our wires, so our taillights don't work, so we'll have to check that out. That license plate light ain't hooked up. What is this? Hooch bottle? Can't read it. It's glass, not plastic. Interesting. All right. I guess we let her down. Take a look at the top side. So to tell you a little bit more about this thing, it was a subscriber reached out to me, bought some other stuff from him, and he said, hey, I got this thing too. And he said he got it from the city of Centerville, South Dakota. So it was a city pickup. I'm guessing they bought it used because I can't imagine a city buying a fully loaded, big block, 1-ton, single rear wheel Silverado in 1984. But I've seen stranger things. Maybe it was the mayor that bought it. Maybe the mayor owned the Chevy garage in town and had it sitting on the lot and couldn't get rid of it, so he sold it to the city. We may never know. If you're from Centerville, South Dakota, comment down below and tell us what you know about this pickup. Probably tell me that you've never seen it there. And maybe I was duped by the seller. All right, let's get her on the ground and do a little walk around. Look at how good that thing looks sitting on the ground. I know on like the 88 to 98 Chevys and the 99 to 06s, so what's that, the GMT 400s, the GMT 800s, you could change the torsion keys or the spindles or whatever, and you can actually lower a 4-wheel drive. I think that'd be pretty cool to have a, you know, like a 99 to 06 Chevy or even an 88 to 98 just slammed on the ground, but 4-wheel drive, so you can just blast through the snow and drive around all these jacked up pickups. Comment down below if you want to see us build a lowered 4-wheel drive. I can already see the 94 Dwaynes out there saying, only idiots lower 4-wheel drives, and idiots lower everything. Don't be an idiot. Yeah, I like being an idiot. I like being different. If it gets you from A to B, who really cares? All right, enough about lowering things. Let's take a look at this thing. So, typical of the 80s paint, we got a lot of clear coat coming loose. I'm guessing this is all factory 1984 paint. Looks like we got a busted chicken chaser. You're gonna have to go on Google and find out why they call those chicken chasers. That one's cracked over there as well, so let's see if we can scrounge one of them up. I don't know if I got any spares. It's got the chrome mirrors. I do think you could get them painted. It's got a whole lot of lichens growing on it, but the windshield looks pretty good. Funny thing about these, a lot of these GMs is the antenna was built into the windshield, whether it worked or not. Leave that up to you. Like I said, she's a Silverado, so the highest of the trim packages, Some of the lower base models probably only had 2 headlights. These guys got 4. Well, this one's got 3. The 6.2's got 6.2 liter hood emblems in there. I wonder if they all had this. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. My grandpa had one on his pickup. My dad had one on his. I always thought they were cool. There's like a little cable in there hooked on a spring. I'm not going to pry on it because my luck with springs last week shows me that I would probably break them. And we don't want to break that spring. Oh, that spring's no bueno. Not a good day to be a spring at Mortske Repair. Got some more lichens on the grill up here. This thing is super, super, super straight. There's that one whammy in the tailgate that I noticed. Other than that, she's pretty good. That's the nice thing about lowering things. You don't see the rust, because usually the rust is down low. Huh. Paint looks good up there. Little clear coat coming off there and there. Or better yet, that's probably all the clear coat that's left. Could be. Who knows? She needs a good cleaning though. Got the pinstripe package. I'm guessing that was add-on. Sliding rear window. Cargo light. Those are both options. Looks like there must have been a fuel tank or bed rails or a topper, something bolted on there. At one point, like I said, rust above the wheels. That's the first spot they get it. And then that's the second spot on the beds anyway. And up here, sure enough, there's our 5th wheel plate. And you can see dirt really gets pinched in there, but it still has a pretty good chance of getting in there and getting rotted out. I would say if you ever buy something like this and you got a 5th wheel plate like this, I would take it out, clean the heck out of everything, and put some new hardware in if they're bolted in like this one is. Yeah, there's our hardware right there. That would be a good time to put that on there if you're gonna put her to heavy use anyway. Looks like Lana Greenfield for District 2 House was involved with this. Is that our missing hubcap? Yep. Yeah, these 4-wheel drive 3/4 tons, they got this. It's not a one-piece hubcap, it's got this little insert there. 3/4 tons are different than half tons, different diameter. The more you know. Looks like there's another one. Another aluminum drive shaft. Who's this? Bert Tulson for State House. Ford floor mat. That's a brand new tarp strap. Dang. Made in Sri Lanka. Boy, that's something you don't see very often. Sri Lanka. You don't see them doing a whole lot of manufacturing. Anyway, another spot these things get rusty is right in here, which this one looks good. All the dirt comes off the wheel, sits in there. There's a void, gets rusty. Wheel wells are always one of the first things to get beat up in there. These things are actually pretty straight. A lot of paint. It's got, oh, that's what the wire taps up there, the Scotch clips were for. It's for the 5th wheel connector. Instead of putting it back here like they should, they had it up there. Looks like there's a big old CB antenna whip, that aluminum bracket up there in the corner. Yeah, pretty good whammo in the tailgate. And that's probably preventing us from opening it. So maybe we got to get that open either way. Maybe we'll do some body work. Yeah, more lichens. You guys like seeing me do body work on the old English stump. I prefer stock bumpers on these pickups, but a big old 1-ton 4-wheel drive, 3/4 ton, whatever, tow pig, you almost got to have a tow bumper, unless you put a receiver hitch down there. What are you doing digging in my toolbox? You're stealing my heat gun. Hey, look at this. You can be the first one to use it. Everybody comes to my toolbox and asks me if it works. Look at this.
Can you steal that one?
You can borrow it.
Oh, I can borrow it. Oh, that'd be...
I got sick of you borrowing that thing all the time. So I haven't decided if I'm going to give you this one or give you that one. I'll probably just keep them both. You let us know how the old M18 works. Then we're going to have to sit down and interview you, and you give a review and use all kinds of big words. Oh. You don't seem too enthusiastic about that. But your pants, they look good today. Yeah. You going to give us a spin? Look at that. You got the lights working? You figured out what it was? Operator error. Yep. So Mojo told me the other day, he said Mrs. Mojo watches the channel, and while I was picking on his pants, I think he was working on the Grand Prix in another video, and she saw that, and she, you know, this video's coming after the fact, she went and found those pants and threw them away on him, so now he's been getting better pants. So hi, Mrs. Mojo. He dresses good, just never mind the grief that I give him. I mean, look at the tatters that I wear around here. But anyway, yeah, we'll let you know how the M18 heat gun works. It's just so much easier than dragging a cord around. And we store that thing in my toolbox in a cardboard box. And if it's hot when you put it away, I feel like you're gonna start a fire. And if we're gonna lose the shop, we're gonna lose the old-fashioned way. We ain't gonna have a fire and burn her down. Thanks for telling me that thing's on fire. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right, let's get back to looking at this thing. Like I said, dual tanks, sliding rear window. I'm guessing C.R. Lawrence Automotive Products. That must have been who this rear window was by. Oh man, we got all of the rubber floor mats. Oil pickup tube from something. Anyway, we gotta get these leaves out of here so we don't rot the bed floor out. And they smell a little ripe. Typical square body door, doesn't latch. How bad are the hinges? Bad. Power windows. The locks go back and forth. I thought that was vertical. Maybe not. These door handles are always missing, and usually there's a matchbook in the wing window to keep them sealed up. It's got the nice door panels with the carpet down there. It's got carpet on the floor. There's another hubcap, owner's manual. There's that inspection cover. Hey, there's our headlight. What is this? The original cool cushion. What the French? Easy to install, no tools required. Designed for perfect. What? It's a brand new seat cover? What a deal. This one ain't even bad. It just needs, oh yeah, well, it's spare. We just got to tie it up there a little bit better. Ooh, padded dash covers. I'm not a fan. And this one is blue, and the dash is red, so it's by Watson. Yeah, these dashes always crack out around the speaker vents. Looks like somebody had the dash apart. $89,428. I would guess that's original. I doubt this is a 200,000 mile pickup. Factory AC, factory AM FM cassette. Looks like somebody put an aftermarket temp gauge down there. Typical, well, it's a tilt column, but there's what, 3 or 4 screws in there that are all loose. Probably broke off by now. It looks like they let it go way too far. Yeah, I wonder why they had the dash part. Looks like there's a spare dash over there. Oh, hopefully it's got an Edelbrock on it, because there's an Edelbrock manual. Look at this. Mufflers. They're probably lifetime warranty. And oh, his name was Carlos P. Montana of Canton, South Dakota. 320 of 97. I'm guessing if Carlos paid for these, he did not drill holes in them. Oh, there's the CB radio. Where's the CB at, though? Dagnammit. Brake controller. Warner Electric. There's our hood pop. I don't know where Duff went. Oh, maybe that's why they had the dash loose, to put this stupid auto gauge by autometer tack in it. Gross. Typical saggy headliner. That's where you put your old hat, buttons, clips, pins, whatever, to hold them up. That's pretty common. Now's when I'd usually go under the hood, but I gotta see what's on this passenger side sitting underneath there. I feel like there's probably some good stuff. Or not. Plus we gotta check out the glove box. That seat cover was a score. Hey, there's our headlight trim ring. Sweet. Uh-oh, spare radiator hose. It's not a flexi hose. I think that's a transmission cooler filter. I don't like that. Spare cluster and a spare surround. Maybe they were just working on the gauges, getting them working. Don't be a mouse house. Nope, she's empty. All right, let's go under the hood. No, square body, you gotta go behind the seat. Spare hubcap, Protec filter, the box for his silly tack, the brake pedal pad, those always fall off. Guessing that's an AC bracket, probably been AC deleted. And a picture frame. Hey, the mirror hasn't fallen off the windshield yet. Seems like they're always laying on the floor when I get them. Maybe they just didn't know how to take a steering column out and they had all that stuff loose to get the column out to fix that wobbliness. Oh. Well, half the hood insulation's gone. It's got an Edelbrock air filter on it. It sure looks like a Quadrajet. Or is that one of them replacement Quadrajet Edelbrocks? It's definitely a big block, so we weren't misled there. Nope, that is most definitely a Quadrajet. So it's got a hydro boost instead of a vacuum boost, so they are power brakes, but instead of vacuum boosted, they're hydraulically boosted, which is pretty common on big blocks and diesels. The big block power steering pumps, they got the reservoir mounted up here. It's not built right onto it. Sure enough, yeah, somebody did take the AC compressor off there. It's still got manifolds. I like that. Being an AC big block pickup, it's got the big radiator in it. I don't like open element air cleaners, and especially when they're that small on that big of an engine, that's probably not a good idea. Looks like they bent the fuel line up, and they got an inline filter there, and they cut the steel line and put a rubber hose on it. So somebody's been messing with that. That's not factory wiring there. Looks like somebody's been messing with the hardware. So I'm wondering if somebody didn't have an Edelbrock on it, found out it was an absolute turd in this big block, and went back to the old Quaderbog. Geez, even the jacks there and the tools were behind the seat. You don't see that very often either. Side post. So yeah, let's check the oil and the coolant. Throw a battery in this thing. Uh-oh. I don't see any coolant. She's in there, she's green, but it's down a ways. How about the dipstick, Jimmy? Oh yeah, it's on there. The previous owner did say that this thing has been sitting for a couple years. When he sent me pictures that had 2019 license plates on it. Cripes, that's already 4 years. Yeah, we should probably drain the fuel and not run that stuff, because I hate to screw up that Quadrajet any more than it needs to. All right, let's do that. Oh, okay, so good thing about having this bent up fuel line is it's easy access up here. I'm gonna hook up one of my clickety clacks, don't talk back, to this guy, and then we're gonna pump that fuel out into a specific container that sends old used gas where it needs to go. Right? Right. Maybe we'll get lucky and this thing's already empty. We'll see if we can pick up any fuel. Got our little Milwaukee 12-volt battery adapter thingy-mabopper here. Works pretty good. Power and light electronics. Oh yeah, we got fuel. I'm gonna lift this thing up in the air, put a little chunk of rubber hose on there, and we'll put it into a pre-approved fuel disposal container. Ooh, that stuff is real ripe. I'm gonna put a hose clamp on that side so that our hose doesn't come unhooked and blast more of that stinky stuff everywhere. Old gas. That's an acquired smell. I don't think it is. Yuck. All right. Containers in place. This thing's probably plumb full too, I suppose. Let's try this again. Our hose is blasting all over. Shoot it all over my nice floor. I don't want my floor to look like DD Speed Shops. There we go. 5-gallon bucket. We got our locking pliers on there to keep that hose from flopping around. You don't want a floppy hose. You want a nice, stiff, rigid hose, especially when going to put things in a 5-gallon bucket. Do you approve? Not so much. He says, that stuff stinks. I'm leaving. All right, I guess I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next however long. If there's, I think it's a 16-gallon tank. If there's 16 gallons in there, we're gonna be here a while. Definitely don't want it to overflow. Since we know our brakes need some work, we might as well check to see if we got fluid. Yeah, they're both full. Our rubber is blown out. You don't want to blow out rubber when you're trying to prevent an accident on the road. You're fine, Mr. Bale Clip. Look at this. Had that aftermarket temp gauge. Looks like it's got a brand new water pump, aluminum spacer, and a flexi fan. I don't hate those as much as flexi hoses, but I'm a fan of the old, I'm a fan of clutch fans. But hey, whatever works. Maybe we'll throw a battery in, see if it'll crank over now. We don't have any fuel hooked up, so it's not gonna pump any of that nasty varnish in there and hang up our valves or anything. Looks like old Timo is our battery sponsor this week. You too can be a battery sponsor at mortske.com. Looks like we're missing our hardware for our battery posts. We're gonna have to find some of that. Also sounds like our fuel tank is dry, so that's good. Got about a gallon in it, maybe a little bit more. Not bad. All right, battery should be good. Connectors are hooked up. I'm gonna go inside and hit the key, see what happens. It's an HEI. It's a small block. It's a quadrajet. Seller hasn't really disclosed anything that has been too big of a surprise. It's gonna run. That's what I'm getting at. So, see if it turns over first. You guys just keep an eye on the fan. I'll listen for strange noises coming from the starter motor. While she's turning over, let's give her a little shot of hot sauce. Fill up the float bowls in the old quader bog. See if it's a big black one. Mojo's a great asset to have around the shop. Makes a lot of noise though. Like I was saying, let's give her a shot of hot sauce, fill the float bowls, see if it lights off. We'll have to get Chin, our resident expert on quader bogs, to figure out what this thing is. I feel like it was only the BOP, Buick, Olds, Pontiac, Cadillacs that came in the front. I thought all the Chevrolets and GMCs were in the side, but I've been wrong before. Here goes nothing. Slingshot engage.
Slingshot engaged.
Without so much as a hiccup, it even idled. All right, I'm gonna go get some petrol, put in the tank, and let's get that fuel line put back together. That's the beauty of electronic ignition. Doesn't matter if it's HEI, GM, Mopar, Ford. If you got power and ground, you're gonna have spark. And it's pretty hard to kill a quadrajet. I mean, they'll run terribly forever. Just look at everyone that's still on the road. The old tailpipe cam wasn't near as exciting. I had to move that table to get Mojo the air jacket. That's still the debris from the Torino. Old Wheeling was chock full of rust. I feel like that's a missed opportunity, like chock full of nuts. We should have decals made for was it chock full of nuts, the coffee? We could have chock full of rust. Yeah. Here's a marketing ad campaign right there. 50-50 90-year-old, 50-50 odds, you're wrong 90% of the time. Guess we should have been hooked up to the old passenger side tailpipe. Looks like real. That's where our hood went. The hood insulation is what that looks like. Dang it. We'll get it next time. These things got a great big ugly fuel pump on them. Yeah, it almost looks like a... Oh, that is. That's a formed hose. It sure looks like 3 formed hose that goes from that fuel line down there. I think we're just gonna put some new hose on it and run it the same way it was. Clearly they were having some fuel issues. This is a Baldwin made in the USA. If they were having issues before, maybe that's why that tank is looked up. Maybe it got rusty in there, who knows. But can't hurt. Let's leave a fuel filter in line. It's always good to take these filters. This is the inlet side. Take the inlet side, tip it up on a piece of paper, clean rag, just on the top of your toolbox where it's clean wherever. Tap it out and see what you got in there. I just got a couple little chunks of black rubber, no big deal. So we're gonna throw this back on because budget. Yeah, that's most definitely a formed hose, so it's probably from 1984. What's that, a 39-year-old fuel hose? Now make sure you find the arrow on your fuel filter and you put it in there the right dang way, or your car will spontaneously combust. Probably not, but yeah, put the hose clamps on so they match the same direction too. Don't be a hack. Don't be a DD speed shot. That guy probably likes them clear glass fuel filters that do spontaneously combust. But he likes electric fans too. Gross. And route your fuel hose so that it ain't rubbing on the fan or the frame or the battery cable or anything hot. You don't want to match in the gas tank boom boom incident.
Match in the gas tank boom boom.
All right, there we go. Ready to put some fuel in the tank. I didn't know GM ever did this, but this is definitely a formed hose. You can see those two bends there. Maybe not so much that one, but those are definitely formed hose bends. And I can see why. It's super tight under there. It had the old band style constant tension clamp, and you can't get a regular clamp, worm drive clamp in there. So I put that stock constant tension clamp back on it because there's no way to get a wrench or a ratchet and socket or nut drive or anything in there. So, but you can get a needle nose pliers in there to get a constant tension clamp. So I should probably hang on to that because I feel like it's a collector's. There it is, GM part number. Look at that, GM 6165-MC04 something or other. Yeah, that is an original. Well, I suppose somebody could have bought one, but more than likely that is a 39-year-old fuel hose. It's not in bad shape, still nice and supple. Only slight delamination. Gotta make sure we put fuel in the proper tank. Be my luck to fill up the wrong one. It was this side, right? Yeah. Oh, somebody already knocked the old anti-siphon flapper out of there. Don't ask me how I know that those exist. Hey, I just thought of that. You get collector license, not collector, pioneer plates in North Dakota. Once these things are 40 years old, this thing's gonna be 40 in less than 3 weeks. I'm gonna have to treat her right with some personalized pioneer plates. Now we're talking. What are we gonna name this thing? Give this thing a name. Comment down below. Big Red is already taken. We already got one of them in the yard. Get to be square. Yeah, that's too much. What is in my beard? Shut up and dump the gas in. 6 gallons of gas should be almost enough to make it around the racetrack back here and up to the highway. My dad had one of these, I think it was an 85, half ton, 700 R4 overdrive, 208 transfer case, probably had 373 gears, 350. You could watch the fuel gauge drop in that thing. It was horrendous fuel economy. Probably stayed on full longer than it took to get from full E. And if you were on E, you better be coasting into a gas station, because as soon as that thing hit E, it was game over. Spent a lot of time chugging and coasting, and then you'd flip the tank. So bad. Let's save a little drizzle of hot sauce bottle so we can prime this thing. If you ever run out of gas, save a little to dump in the carburetor, prime the carburetor fuel system. Put in the float bowl so the engine runs a little bit, so you're not using your starter to pump all that fuel up. Smarter, not harder. Ask the guy who's running out of gas way too many times. If we were real smart, we'd have saved enough in here to fill up this bottle, but we most definitely did not save that much. Ah, there might be enough to fill the float bowl. Probably not though. Let's see if anything else comes out here. Maybe when we give her the old meat and potatoes, we'll get a little bit more mouse sauce to go. Or not. Fill up that float bowl. Fire on. It runs. It doesn't run great. It runs okay. We definitely got to give her a tune-up. I don't know if the timing's off or if that carburetor's screwed up or we got a vacuum leak, but it almost idles, but not quite. And it's got a huge stumble when you come off idle. So I'm sure something's going on there. Suppose anybody's ever put plugs, wires, cap, rotor on this thing? He's like, just put the stupid wheels on it so we can go for a ride. Priorities. You're not concerned about the U-bolt on the rear end falling off? Or the brakes are dragging? He says, I don't care. Did you see the mouse house came out of that tailpipe? Come check this out. Did we get any more out of there? Yeah, there you go. Check it out. I think they came from in there. Did he come from in there? Yeah. All right, maybe let's check out the ignition. See what it looks like. New plugs, wires, cap, rotor. You get any of them parts on hand? Are wires the same as a small block? Probably not. I'm pretty sure cap and rotor are the same. Plugs, probably not the same, but we might have some spark plugs there now. Let's take a look at that stuff. Go from there. But hey, it's a start. No strange noises that add 30 pounds of oil pressure at idle. Nothing wrong with that. These plugs look surprisingly new. Distributor cap looks pretty new. Maybe I'll pull a plug out, see what that looks like. That might tell us how long it's been running poorly. Pretty sooted up. Must be a champion. Oh yeah. RV15 YC4. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's in that carburetor. So another thing an astute eye will gain you. Not only is there a hard steel line that should be here, we saw the Edelbrock, what do you call it, carburetor manual in there. Looks like this vacuum line's been plugged off. That's for our vacuum advance. There should be a cute little short pre-bent line that goes here for your choke pull off or vacuum secondaries or whatever that is. Oh, somebody's got a screw in here for the choke. We're having a mechanical choke. cable, but I don't see a choke cable. What's this wire for? I bet that was when somebody had something with an electric choke. But what I was getting at is there's a kind of a special bolt, and it's not special. It's just, you see them a million times. This is not the original bolt that holds a quadrajet jet down, so somebody's had this off before. Again, 40 years old, not surprising. But this guy back here, I think this is for our wipers, or it's for something, but I bet that's a vacuum leak. So this one's for a vacuum modulator. This one's got a 3/8 bolt plug in it. So let's put a cap on this guy, and we'll worry about what it is later, but I bet that's a vacuum leak. That can't be the cause of why it's running poorly, can it? We may never know. See if you guys can see it. I just pulled this off the intake, and I thought, I better save this check valve. So maybe it wasn't leaking, because flow is going that direction, and it should be vacuum, so it should be pulling it that way. Not? I don't know. And also, that doesn't seem like that seems like way too big of a hose to be a factory GM vacuum hose. Looks like our hose is routed over to that vacuum canister over there, so whatever that's hooked up to. You can't read it anymore. If you work on a lot of 80s hot garbage like me, I got this kit off Amazon, and I've added more caps to it over the years, but having vacuum caps of all different sizes has been an absolute lifesaver, especially on these billet runs. So if you're looking for a stocking stuffer for that special someone, or want to give a hint to somebody else, look on Amazon. I'd say I'd provide a link down in the description, but I most definitely won't remember to do that. So just go on Amazon and look for vacuum plug or vacuum cap kits. Real good. All right, now let's see if it runs any better. Better yet, let's look around for more vacuum leaks. And plus, these caps look so much cleaner than using a screw. Ooh, I will give you a really sweet tech tip. Screws only fit certain sizes. You know what fits many sizes? And they actually look relatively clean? Golf tees. They make amazing vacuum plugs. It's kind of hackery, but it works. And it's better than a screw. No comment. I think we're gonna try her again, see what happens. There you have it. Something as simple as that. Little tiny vacuum leak. I would sure hope that's not why they were chasing carburetor issues. And it has still got kind of a dead spot, but it's idling on its own now. Thought I wanted to die there for a second, just as I say that. Don't speak too soon. Alrighty. Well, might have a celebratory sandwich. Don't you die on us.
No, don't do this. Don't start with me. No, start, come on.
No valve train noise. Power steering pump ain't whining. The bearing and the alternator and the water pump aren't making noise. This is probably one of our better purchases. Suppose the alternator's charging? Yep. We might have to get some brake parts tomorrow and a U-bolt. And the mufflers don't even sound that bad. Listen to them. What do they say? The sun shines on a dog, whatever. I think we got lucky on this one. And it was about time. Shut this thing down before we get smoked out of here. Okay, those things sound terrible. Like a giant exhaust leak under there. Weird. Tack works. Volt gauge works. We're down to 15 psi. I suppose the oil warmed up. I don't know if the temp gauge works anymore because they got that other gauge in here. Fuel gauge is definitely jacked. We got that temp gauge down there. So yeah, power steering works. We're onto something here. And in case you were wondering why we drain the fuel out of this thing, it's because old varnish fuel is notorious for not only screwing up carburetors, but the worst thing is it'll get on your valve guides and you'll get a sticky valve. And sticky valves and me, we don't go well together. Well, that's gonna end the day here at Mortske Repair, and they probably don't go well together with you either. But look at this fuel. This bucket was the cleanest bucket I had, which is pretty clean actually. And you can see just how murky, muddy that is. You should be able to see the bottom of that bucket. And it reeks. The good news is the used oil furnace will burn it, right, Duff? Yeah. The bad news is the furnace is noisy and it requires the air compressor to run the furnace. So we gotta listen to both of those. All right. Fired the old parts cannon. We got rotors, calipers, pads, master cylinder, and hoses. Napa Todd was able to get them all for us. It was the next morning, so he ran down there and picked them up, but he's also supposed to get mufflers. And somebody in Owatonna, Minnesota forgot to throw those on the truck, so we didn't get those. And the only part worse than parts that don't fit is parts that don't show up. But anyway, we can deal without the mufflers, so hopefully these parts all fit. Let's rip into the bad side first, so that way we're not ripping apart a side that may work. Anyway, I hope these parts fit, because I don't know if you guys and gals have had the same issues lately, but getting the right parts is difficult. And it's always a little bit more difficult on 1-tons because there's a single rear wheel and a dual rear wheel, so stuff kind of gets lost in translation per se. So let's rip into this thing. Let's take a look, see what we got to do first anyway. So this is a little out of our wheelhouse, not only being a 1-ton, but also being a 4-wheel drive. So I think the first thing we're going to do is get that terrible caliper off of there. And we'll cut the hose or tie that up or do something. And then we got to take this lockout out. It looks like it's a Allen wrench. Take that out of there, and then there should be some hardware, some clips, some snap rings, and fancy nuts that we probably don't have a socket for that we take off with a hammer and a chisel. And then I think we get that whole thing off of there. And then I'm guessing we got to press the wheel studs out and press the hub on. And we probably should have got wheel bearings and seals and some new studs. I mean, just in case, but we got to do one of these videos every week, so we can only go so far. We're not going to do brakes this week and exhaust the next week and get the lights working the next week. We just try to do it all in one shot around here. It seems like those videos do best. So that's what we're going to do. Enough rambling. Let's start ripping into it. That came apart exactly how it should. The snap ring, internal, external, Phillips screwdriver. Of course, the nut that they have, like I called it, it's got these, it's full of dirt now. That's what it's got. Got those 4 notches. And of course, I got 3 of them sockets for that. And all 3 of them are the same size. And would you guess? All 3 are the wrong size. So we're gonna have to see if we can round one of those up. Also, the seal is part number 415960 National. I don't have one of those on hand. Should have picked one of those up. The good news is the bearings look good. Tech tip of the day, cheap tool to get. They make these little wire brushes. They're usually got a longer handle, but this one's been broke off for quite some time. Super handy for finding part numbers and VINs and all kinds of good stuff. But anyway, before you ruin the seal, clean up the backside and see if you can get one coming first. And usually there's 3 things stamped on here. There's National, which is the brand, manufacturer, USA, where it's made. And then straight across from that is the part number, which is 415960. Sure looks like 475, but crossed it with Rock Auto and it's a 415. So yeah, that's where the part numbers are located at on seals. And a lot of guys will pry them out and ruin them, and then they can't find a seal and they can't find the part number because they ruined it prying it out. So always check that. Also, if you're real careful and get a nice dull punch or a chunk of round tubing, you can slide it through there and you can knock that whole seal out without ruining it. The old timers like Mojo are good at that. Me, not so much. I would just rather get a seal coming. But if we can't get the seals today, we'll just put it back together. They look pretty good. Bearing looks pretty good. So now let's press all these studs out. Let's check to make sure that our Napa rotors are the same. Excellent job of packaging. I'm sure they came with that window. Country of origin, communist China. I don't know. What do you think, Duff? Is it gonna fit? Yeah, I'm sure. All right. Looks good. Let's go over to the press and knock some studs out. Oh yeah, you wanna look at how bad this thing was? I'm guessing these things got kind of a silly slide system. They sit on there and it's metal on metal and that spring holds it and yada, yada, yada. That pad looks, you know, half used. I'm guessing it got hung up. And that pad is metal on metal, and that had to have been pretty loud. It had to have been rubbing for quite some time. You see how that thickness there and that thickness right there are equal? That's the way it should be. You see how this side is over twice as big as this side? Yeah, that's not how it should be. Must have spent too much time on that CB radio and not listened to what was going on in the right front wheel. I would have been checking to see if a wheel bearing was out. That'd have been terrible. But yeah, there's our wheel bearing. We can grease that outer one up. Everything looks good though, so I wouldn't be afraid to run it, but now's the time to do it. That's what the boss man says anyway. Old studs came out okay. I got this little 20-ton Harbor Freight press. Works pretty good, but it's always takes a little bit of finagling. I wish it was bigger. I wish it was air operated. So maybe one day we'll update it with a air cylinder. And it's too freaking short. I'm always on my hands and knees. And like I said, we don't use it a ton. When we do, it's handy, but it's always a pain. I'll show you what we got going on here this time around. So first, that, I don't know what you call it, the anvil or the driver or whatever, isn't long enough, so we're gonna have to put a spacer in there, which not a big deal. You saw when we pressed them out, used a 1/2-inch drive extension and a socket, just use that socket to keep it centered on there. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna have to have a driver on there. And the other thing is we're pushing off to the side, so it wants to tip sideways, so we gotta, I don't know, cut a chunk of tubing or make some type of spacer to go in there so that it doesn't want to tip, so that it holds it straight. And it'd be great if we could just set it down in there, but this diameter of this hub is too big to fit between the C-channel. So yeah, also we could use some better lighting over here. Let's see if this guy lights up. Probably if we plug it in, it would help.
And you don't have to have the wheel off, but it still does help.
Hey, there we go. Maybe, I always kind of dreamed of putting that thing underneath there where it's better lit underneath the mezzanine, so maybe someday she'll get moved in there. All right, well, I'm gonna go see if we can find some round tubing or angle iron or something to put underneath there and shim that up. I'm gonna show them what we come up with. So we got a, oh, what is that? 4 5/8 inch chunk of 1 inch square tubing, heavy wall, hole on the bottom side, and then we got a 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch drive impact socket on the top. Works pretty good. We just got 6 more to do. We did a trial run on 2 of them, so yeah. And then we ran to the other parts store and got 2 seals since we didn't have them on hand, so we can clean up some bearings and they'll all be good as new. Except for we need to modify the socket that we got to tighten that nut because I didn't have the right one. And we got to modify that unless I can find one. Pookie doesn't have one. Maybe the diesel shop in town's got one, but I found one at the Napa that we can modify, if nothing else. All right, let's press them together, Duff. All right, that's as far as I can get that side together without a socket. Mojo loves lathe work, so guess what he's doing to said socket. How come the belt's turning and the socket ain't? Giving it all the meat and potatoes, huh? I like how you left the label on it so we can take it back and return it.
Right. Warranty.
What'd you do?
Might have changed a bit.
You wore that one right out?
Well, no. Sharper. Bit cut better.
All right, don't screw that one up too now.
Well, I ain't gonna screw that one up. Hey.
Here's what Mojo made us. He took our perfectly good brand new ball camp Napa socket and ruined it. Now we just got to cut this off and then find a chunk of tube or pipe to extend it out. We'll be good to go. We're going to find a more efficient way to cut the inside. Maybe that saw, huh? Duff's just supervising back here. This side's as far as we're gonna get until we get that socket on there, but then we just gotta tighten those nuts up and put the lockout in there and bleed the system. But anywho, I was looking at that yoke on that Dana 60 up here. Do you see what I see? Let's raise the hoist up. Take a look. You guys see what I see? I don't know if they spread the yoke or they got the wrong straps or the wrong U-joint in there, but they stuck a washer in there to space it out properly and then tack welded it in there. I don't really like that, so we'll probably be looking for a new yoke because that one's clearly had some unapproved changes made. I don't know. U-joint says made in USA and doesn't mean it's the right one. Yeah, like I said, every one of these things is just slopped out. Looks like this one's been, somebody's already replaced that spline because those welds, maybe somebody at GM would lay that terrible of a bead. But anyway, one more thing to keep an eye out for. I thought the U-joints were tight, but turns out there's other issues going on with our yokes and U-joints. Weird. If this thing could talk, it would probably scream. That's what happens when you buy trucks from cowboys in South Dakota. This one wasn't even West River. Imagine what one of those would be like. Alrighty, this side is wrapped up. It's a little tricky getting these assembled in the right process and the order and the snap rings, but you'll figure it out if you get into a Dana 60. Hopefully we get many more years of serviceable life out of this thing now. There's our socket we made up. Cut that thing down and then I got some exhaust pipe and extended it out. Threw a couple beads on there. Hopefully that thing gives us many years of serviceable life. It's amazing what you can do with a saw and a welder in a lathe. Now we just gotta do it all over on the other side. And I'm not gonna film that because nobody probably watched me do the first side. And this side will be way easier. Dang it, I should have filmed this side. It made me look like a professional. But we're not. So, see you back in a little bit. I don't know, we'll probably do master cylinder and then some hoses on the back. Oh, but first, here's the slide that held the caliper. And there's what they shipped us. I don't know about you, but that ain't gonna work. So I ended up using the old one on the passenger side. I tell you what, part quality these days is through the roof. More like through the basement. All right, I was working on putting that rear brake hose on, not showing it because it's just taking lines off. And old Bob called, bobbing around Bob, and my dad texted me today and said it's my grandpa Mag's 100th birthday. Would have been his 100th birthday today. It's December 13th, 1923. So anyway, I was thinking about him, and Bob says, there's a fresh tarp strap at the end of your driveway laying on the highway. So we're gonna go pick it up, because that's what Mag would have done. Duff's gonna try not to get hit by a car. Duff, you stay in the yard. There it is, I can see it. We just gotta not get hit by this pickup. Good boy, stay. Frickin' blue plater, by golly. She's been hit a couple times, but she's got both hooks. Well, the frickin' battery died when I was out there in the cold. The beauty of living in Podunk. Anywho, like I said, it's my grandpa's 100th birthday today. Would be his 100th birthday today. He's no longer with us, but anyway, spent a ton of time with him working on cars, dragging home cars. He was into the Model Ts and the brass ears stuff, but he's into the Model A's a little bit too, and then we got him converted into hot rods and flatheads and all that stuff. But he's kind of a jack of all trades. He was, like I said, a big part of my life, so it's kind of cool when Bob called and said, Mojo and I were just talking about my grandpa because he knew him really well. And he said, there's a tarp strap on the highway, you should pick it up. And I was like, that is exactly what my grandfather would do, is pick up a tarp strap. I mean, a receiver hitch, a bolt, a tire iron, a ratchet. He was that type of guy. He always said, that's the way we did it in the old country. And in the old country, if you saw something free on the side of the road, you picked it up. He was always, cleanup week was his favorite. I found my old skateboard in his house garage when I bought the house. He drove by my parents' house and we threw out my skateboard and he picked that thing up off the side of the curb. So I still got that around here somewhere. It's a terrible, crappy $15 skateboard back in the day. But, gas grills, he'd always see one that he thought was better than the one that he already had and he'd drag that back. You name it. He would pick anything up. But anyway, just thought that was kind of special that today would have been his 100th birthday and there happened to be a tarp strap laying at the end of my driveway on the highway, so we picked her up. Yeah, that's where I got a lot of my skills and my know-how, and going to auction sales. Man, we went to hundreds of auction sales, it seemed like, and we would buy the dumbest stuff, but he knew he could make a buck on it, or had a home for it, or he just pack-ratted it away. Better get back to work. The supervisor is telling me we got things to do, like a rear brake hose. All right, hoses are all done, calipers on, all that good stuff. We're not gonna touch the rear brakes because frankly, it's a lot of work and it's stuff you guys don't want to see, and they're probably working just fine. So if they leak or don't work, we'll address that later. But the last thing we gotta do is the master cylinder, so I'm gonna go bench bleed that thing because that's what it says to do. Sometimes you get away with not doing it, sometimes you have to. Usually I never do it, but we'll bench bleed that and then we'll stick it on there and we should be able to go and then stop. We don't know if we're gonna be able to go, but we'll definitely be able to stop. Get enough new parts out of it, so I don't know why I wouldn't. So all we're doing here is clamping in the vise. We're gonna put some brake fluid in it. Got some adapter fittings from a long time ago when they used to give them away with these. Now they don't, because everything's cheap. And just some hoses. Fill the fluid past that hose and just pump it till bubbles quit coming out. Cap them off, put it on, and she's bled. We're just gonna leave that guy hang out there, get the other one removed. Duff's eating his cookies that somebody sent him. Chocolate chip. I wasn't a fan of them right away. So old DB and I had to try a few of them. They're not bad. They're actually pretty good. And then he decided to start eating them. These are our front brakes, this is our rear brakes, and then they added this T in here with this line, and that's for the old style trailer brake controller. We're gonna delete that because it's old technology. It probably doesn't work. And let's be honest, we're probably not going to pull a trailer. Okay, we probably will, but we're going to put an electric one in as opposed to these old hydraulic ones. So let's get rid of that while we're at it. You can see that rubber got all swollen up over the years. You don't want to reuse a swollen rubber, ever. We will harvest this T off here and save that for a rainy day project to be determined later. Or it'll get sold in a pile of junk for $1 on our auction sale. Yeah, that's more likely. And the last guy didn't use a line wrench, so we're gonna use the locking pliers. So we got our master cylinder installed, pretty much ready to bleed brakes, and yeah, whatever else we decide to do. I'm gonna have a sandwich to think about it. First, I'm gonna bolt this bracket back up that holds all of our lines up there. And I'm gonna go find another nut because it should have two. It only had one. And look at that, they used a brass one though even. Somebody's been here before. It's definitely a 7/16 cross-threaded onto an M10. You're awful quiet. Should we quiet this pickup down with some new mufflers? Oh yeah, all right, let's do it. Let's See how much of a struggle it is to get the old ones off. Put these on. These things are really close. They're not dead on. They're a hair longer, but Duff says, I think we can make it work. So get the hammer and the cutoff wheel and let's do this. Maybe we'll get some Croyle out, put on those clamps. We probably should have got some new clamps, but maybe these ones will survive. If not, probably got some in our stash. Do not, I repeat, do not drill holes in your mufflers. God dang it. Alrighty, one down, one to go. They had it spot welded on each end, so we had to cut those. And then I found the best way is just cut the end off right there with a Sawzall, and then take your zip disc and zipper there, spread it apart, and then knock it off with the old whammer hammer, and you're good to go. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but whatever, that's how I do it. I did have to loosen up the tailpipe to slide it out of the way to get this on there, so we'll have to readjust that because, you know, it was already touching the shock, so it'll be fine. But it's not touching the brake hose. Good to go. All right, we're gonna bang out the other side quick, and then we'll be done, and I'll be exhausted, as will this 1 ton. All right, let's get this ball joint Kingpin cover cap dealio figured out. Get some hardware in it. So I'm gonna do some research, find out what threads they are, AKA grab a bunch of bolts. Better yet, let's just spin one of these guys out. Now we're thinking with our dipstick, Jimmy.
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy!
3/4 inch socket, so just a lucky guess would say 1/2 inch fine thread. I'll go double check, but I am 98% sure that that is a 1/2 inch fine thread bolt. We might even clean it up, see what grade. No, she's a grade 5, nothing spectacular. All right, I'm gonna go grab 4 of these and some my favorite Larkin washers. Hey, if they're good enough for Dana, they're good enough for me. Pre-lube them with a little bit of our Croyle. Looks like things have shifted, so we might have to persuade it a little bit. Well, what's the dealio there? Huh. Kind of looks like the whole thing is rotated. How are we gonna persuade that back into position? Tell you what, I got this 3-foot pipe wrench on a late night alcohol fueled eBay purchase. It's aluminum, and I have never regretted it. Oh, look at that. She's gonna pop. No, the whole thing's turning. If this thing don't move it, it ain't moving. There we go. Oh, didn't knock my teeth out. Come on, baby. I should probably chase them with a tap. Been a while since they had bolts in them. I'm gonna go grab a 1/2 inch fine thread tap. Was it 1/2 That'd be a good idea. If you're looking to buy somebody that special gift for the holidays, you might have time, you might not. A good tap and die set. This is a Craftsman set. I wouldn't buy a Craftsman set anymore probably, but probably get a gear wrench set. I've had these for Man, I was in college, so 15, 20 years. And they've been a lifesaver. I use the heck out of them. As long as you're careful. Watch me break them now. Excellent stocking stuffer for that special someone in your life. Or if you're that special someone, tell those other people to get you one. Oh yeah, smooth as a baby's bottom.
He's smoother than a baby's bottom.
We're definitely going to torque these to factory spec because we don't want these falling out. Just kidding about the torque part, but definitely don't want them falling out. All right, we got that wrapped up. On to the next task. I roped old Mojo in, running the brake pedal by the brakes. We got those all pumped up. Let's get these 235, 85, 16s out there. See how this thing looks. So that we can go for an RIDE. Would that please you, master? Yeah. All right. You gonna lift them up and I'll run the air wrench, electric wrench, impact? Okay, I'll do it all. All right, since we got this thing on the lift, let's give her a quick service job. Now, I'm not gonna change the oil on the engine anyway, but let's check the diff, the transfer case, and the rear diff. Front diff, rear diff, transfer case. This Dana 60, these things I see them listed for anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000. So we definitely want to take care of that thing. Those 205 transfer case, same deal. They're 500 bucks all day long. So we want to take care of those. So let's lift it up in the air. We'll pull the plugs. We got to add some 80/90. We'll add some 80/90. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, front diff looked good, transfer case looked good, rear diff took about a pint. And I knew that was coming because I'll give you a little tech tip. If you're ever inspecting a vehicle or looking to buy something, check for leaks. Axle seals, pinion seal's wet, diff cover, that's probably just from the pinion seal. But then this side, that could either be an axle seal or a wheel cylinder because the transmission differential was low on fluid. That axle seal is going to be required to be replaced in the near future. Imagine it. Ow! Don't hit your head on lift arms. And that's going to snowball. Since that axle seal is already leaking, you might as well put the axle seal on the other side because that's usually not far behind. And you're already staring right at the wheel cylinder in the face. So you might as well order wheel cylinders and be prepared to put brake shoes and turn the drums and everything else that's involved with that process, and probably do a pinion seal while we're at it. So all of a sudden putting $8 worth of 80/90 in is a lot cheaper than putting $200 worth of parts and a whole day's worth of labor. It needs to be done. So just something to look for if you're ever looking at a vehicle to buy, or if you're selling a vehicle, fix that stuff. If you're looking to buy a vehicle, look for that stuff, because those leaks, like, oh, you just think, oh, it's an $8 axle seal. Yeah, well, it could snowball. Plus, it takes a bunch of time. Something to look out for. Now, while we got it in the air, we're going to grab the grease gun, and we're going to hit all the zerks on this thing. Mainly, there's a couple on the drive line, but there's a bunch on that front end, tie rod ends, ball joints, all that good stuff. So I'm going to go grab the 18-volt Milwaukee grease gun, because I'm too lazy to do all that hand pumping. Don't even think about it. All right. Let's grease this up. Also, when you install grease zerks and universal joints, make sure they face the right way. You can't get a zerk on this one. we'll have to address that when we fix that yoke. Another thing to check if you're buying a four-wheel drive is if the four-wheel drive works. So this thing's got part-time four-wheel drive, so it's got a lever, it's got neutral, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, high-low, stuff like that. So the front drive shaft isn't always spinning on this because we got lockout hubs as well. So make sure the transfer case is working, make sure your lockout's working. I'll show you what we got going on the lockouts here. So when you got it to free, that axle shaft should not be turning. It's got a little bit of resistance, so I had to put that bar in there. But now, we put it to lock, and I can't turn it. So, our lockouts are in fact working. This side works a lot better. Less resistance. Put it in free, freedom mode, and the axle does not turn. There should also be grease zerks in there if those joints have been replaced. These ones don't have grease zerks, so we didn't have to grease those, but everything should be good to go under here now. Got her sitting on the ground. She looks pretty good, wouldn't you say, Duffers? Oh yeah, he says, looks real nice.
Really nice.
Paint me up like one of your French girls. Let's get that tailgate open and get the bed cleaned out and do a little pressure washing before we put the caps on. Seems like it's binding on this side. Usually these tailgates aren't the best design. This doesn't help any, but usually you can see daylight through there because it's not a super tight fit, and you can get in there with a screwdriver or a small pry bar and push that latch and lever angle dangle thingamabobber out of the way. We can at least get the tailgate open so we can get all this stuff out of there without having to scoop it all up. There's one side. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we just gotta back this thing over to the pit. Clean all the junk out here. That's not junk though. Duff! What do you think of that exhaust? Sounds way more gooder. Alright, let's see if the transfusion works. I'm sure it's gonna be a gallon low, just like everything else we get around here. We are in the pit. Surprisingly, transmission went right in reverse. Duff, did you hear that rooster out there? Where's that bird? Where's it burn? He was off that way. No, that way. Okay. Or this way. But hopefully our four-wheel drive works because she's a little greasy down here. All right, let's get this thing cleaned out. Better hang on to that forward mud flap. We might need that as, I don't know, something. You just never know. We might have to clean these up, put them back in there. Didn't the last Chevy pickup 3/4 ton have Ford mud flaps? Floor mat? Which one was that? That's steel. We don't burn that. Man, this gooseneck's tough to sweep out. Hence why the floor's rotted out. This pickup bed cleanout is brought to you by Mortske merch. Go to mortske.com for your merch. We're working on hoodies. They're in the process. Well, we have great weather in December. We got beanies as well. They're not this beanie. They're the Crown logo beanie, and they are available right now at mortske.com. Get them while they're hot. Limited supply. They're fleece. They're freaking awesome. So yeah, go check them out. mortske.com. We got magnetic koozies, we got magnetic screwdrivers, we got banners, we got t-shirts, we got decals, we got keychains. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Check it out, mortske.com. Now that I got my breath back, I don't even have that back. Let's finish cleaning this thing out and go wash it up. Rain in December, Duff. What is this? All right, let's wash it. But first, let's see if it'll drive out of here in two-wheel drive. I'm sure it will. I don't even need to save them floor mats. It's already got nice red rubber floor mats in here. It needs the old PVC trick on the door latches though. All right, you gonna do some pressure washing? Guess not. Look at that dork. He wants to do some pressure washing. What's with those pants? You laundry day?
No,
They're
they're comfortable.
comfortable.
They're hunting pants.
What are you hunting?
Whatever. My car. That's mainly what I've come to get.
Oh, are those new boots too? Is it Christmas already? New boot goofing?
Wait, what? I'm just goofing. New boot goofing.
Hey, do a pudding dance for us. Come on. It'll be fun.
I have the southern touch.
There better be no touching going on here. I'm gonna do some pressure washing outside to try to keep the floor clean in here, because that's what we're all about. Cleanliness is next to godliness. All right, let's do this. We should wash under the hood, but we don't have an air filter. Does that matter, Duff? We got shafted on that auction sale, huh? Eh? Funny part is I got that Mustang from the same guy as I got this. Small world. 2 different loads. He delivered that one. Sucker. I'm gonna go get this one. Cue the pudding music. That's as much dancing as you're getting out of this poor white guy. Look at that. They got her all loaded up. They grow up so fast. I love pressure washing. It's going on pretty good though. Duff, you clean them hubcaps up? Let's see if we can't pound a couple dents out of these. I don't like these aluminum hubcaps. They don't polish up as well as the old chrome steel ones, but see what we can do. This one's had a hard life. And this guy, one's convex and one's not, so we're gonna pound that one out to match that one. Or we're gonna try anyway, at least, huh, Duff? I don't suppose we can just push on it. Of course not. If we had something we could set it in that was round, 5-gallon bucket. Be Strong little Dollar General wash bucket. There you go, body by bucket and Mortske. What are we gonna do for this guy? It's got a little tear there. We're getting serious. Get a real body hammer out. Oh yeah, way better. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Oh. The finishing touches. The other thing we got to address after we get the hubcaps on is these, there. Strips are delaminating, so I think we just might run a knife over them, get rid of all that, clean them up. They were just kind of hanging there anyway, and then the pressure washer opened them up, but we'll just get rid of that snaggly tooth stuff. We'll be good as gold. Good as gold. Put them together, you get good as gold. I don't know. Hubcaps. Squirrel!
Squirrel!
Now let's do a little trim work on this guy. See how a fresh blade in my Milwaukee knife does. Not a paid promotion. All right, we can't ever work on a square body without doing the door latch fix. So let's do that while we're at it. If you're not aware of square bodies, the doors latch like hot garbage. There. You fix that by putting a little chunk of PVC right over that stud. So the first thing is you get yourself the PVC, half-inch PVC. You're gonna show them? Second step is you measure how long you need it to be, right there. Third step is you go to the saw, cut it off. Mojo appears to be making a mess by the saw. Oh, I guess we're gonna finally use our CUDA. It's awful messy back here.
All that coming out of here?
I guess so. Is there a filter in there?
I don't know. There, look.
Third step is you cut a slit, split her open. And the last and most important step that I can't explain how to do, because I always forget how to do it. And I don't know of a good way to do it, but you gotta try to slip it on there somehow. You got a good way to do it? No. It's kind of difficult to get PVC to spread open for you, because, you know, that's not what it's designed to do. By the time I get done with the second side, I'll have it figured out. And then I'll forget for the next square body. Dagnammit. If you got real strong fingers, you just slide it over just like that. Just like that. Works so good you don't even need thumbs to shut the door anymore, huh, Duff? You gonna come over and give her a whirl? Have at it. See how it's done. Okay, it's not that good. But it's way better than it was. Way more gooder. No slamming required anyway. And they latch tight. Of course, the passenger side never gets used quite as much, so that one always shuts better. Case in point. Ooh, look at that little guy. He's got some furry legs. What's your name? Jump scare. Shuts better, but see how it's got that play? Let's fix that play. And no, it's not the kind of play that Lincoln went to at Ford's Theater. Come on now. Go to your home. Don't you know where your home is?
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Yeah. Now watch how good this shuts. Dang, it's still kind of loose. Better than it was. That's how they should latch. Super easy, quick fix. Every Squarebody owner should do it. Next to address this black eye. Found a high beam. What is it? H4656. And I found the retaining ring, but I couldn't find the hardware. So off to the row O death for the Squarebodies to see if we can find one. We better look, see what kind of hardware holds them in so we know what to take. Looks like a Phillips screwdriver. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a jackrabbit's tail. The gift that keeps on giving, the old 7th Avenue Squarebody Suburban that we had to tunnel through in a snowstorm last year.
You've been a lot of help, pal. Got it.
Keeps on giving up the goods. We got not only the screws from the front, we also got the air cleaner. So, yeah, getting real close to going for an RIDE. And Duff approves of that. All right, let's get this together. Hope that light works. Dang, she even works. We got a low beam out on this side. Look at this. Even the busted chicken chaser works. No way we got taillights though, is there? Whew. These guys don't work. I saw that wire hanging in the tailgate. These are working. Good to go, Duff. Well, since we got the tools out, we may as well fix that low beam on the driver's side, right? Not suppose we can just wiggle the connection. No, she's out. Always verify the customer complaint first. Nothing like putting a new headlight in to find out the old one worked just fine. All right, I think we're at the point where I throw this air cleaner on it. See this thing go for a ride. I did adjust the timing a little bit. The distributor's loose. And you would crank it when it was warm after pressure washing it. It goes vroom, vroom, vroom. Yeah, it's also because the battery's dead. It's too far advanced, so I retarded it a little bit. And we'll see if it starts better. Somebody had just been in there, I feel like, playing with the timing. Gonna put a little power steering juice in there while we're at it. All right. Probably should have seen it start before I closed the hood. Got the inside cleaned out. Pretty much all I found was that seat cover and some instrument clusters. Oh, and a spare rear hubcap, which I think you guys saw, which is better than the banged up one we put on there. So we'll clean that one up some other time and put it in there. Yeah, the inside needs good cleaning. It needs a dash pad. I got to put the gauge cluster surround back in there, loosen up, or tighten up the super loose column or swap column, something like that. That'll have to be another video because I'm out of energy and we're out of time. So we're gonna take this thing, run the mail to town, and take her for a drive. See how she works. Should be fine, right? Right. Hold up. Let's go. Let's check to see if it starts first, huh? Purrs like a kitty. Go turn that idle up. Gonna push the mirror out on your side too, that'd be great. You pushed it out too far. Cranks over way better now. Carburetor still needs some work. I think we are aware car that the previous owners were trying to do some carburetor work too. Maybe it's in the ignition too. Man, this thing will barely get out of its own way. See how she goes down the road. This is just that cold-blooded. Yeah. We're gonna have to get an old chin on a quadrajet, or maybe order a rebuilt one. Steering wheel sticky too, imagine that. Power window. Oh, it works! It goes down anyway. What are the odds it goes back up? We're not gonna go all the way down. Come on, baby. Slowest windows known to man. The old speedo cable probably needs some lube. She's doing the wavy wave. You know how fast you were going, son? Somewhere between 45 and 60. Just waving at me in there. Just waving. Seal's up pretty good. This seal up here is leaking a little bit. Well, sliding rear windows are notorious for wind noise. That's leaking a little bit. How about the radio? We got no knobs, but we got radio. Man, we get the heater working. Fuel gauge. This thing will be a hot rod. Definitely need to do some work on that carburetor though. The carburetor and the timing. And the steering wheel. All pretty minor details. Exhaust sounds good. Tires ain't super noisy, humming. This is a pretty dang good pickup. Clean her up a bit. Seat cushion's a little bit sacked out, so we might have to find a different seat or throw some new foam in this one. This thing can clean up pretty good. Fix that saggy headliner. The inspection cover was laying in here, so we could put that back on. I'm gonna put her up on the lift the next time. Give her an oil change. Plugs, wires, cap, rotor, looked like that was all done recently, so should be good on that. Figure out that fuel tank on the left-hand side, because with the old big block, you can pass everything by gas station, unless you've got this one with this carburetor. You can't really pass anything. Do we dare try the heater, Duff? Ready? Oh, you gotta turn it to something. Yeah, no blower motor. Dang it. Put that on the list too if things do it. Address. Blower motor. Wiring. Or maybe it's a blower motor itself, but I'm betting maybe when I pressure washed it underneath the hood, maybe it came unhooked, you suppose? There's always a chance, Duff.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Alright, I'm gonna run in the post office. You keep an eye on this thing. Temp gauge says 135. The bad part about the temp is where they screwed it in is in the thermostat housing, so it's after the thermostat, so it's not going to come up until the thermostat opens, in theory, unless there's no thermostat in it. But that just seems preposterous. That tack is terrible and needs to go away. Who mounts a tack, drills a hole right through a padded dash? How's that ever going to work? All right. I'll be back in a bit. What are you staring down that golf cart for? Who's driving a golf cart in December? No such luck on the blower motor being disconnected. Maybe we'll have to check some fuses. Anyway, I've got some fan mail from somebody referring to me as the ham sandwich collector. Or maybe it's the ham sandwich collection. I don't know. Yeah. This thing just sat here and idled away. Oh man, when you're barely moving, it bounces between 0 and 20 mile an hour. The old speedo is not happy. Not happy. Let's get her out on the highway, Duff. Let her open up and stretch her legs. Hey, that 400 shifts hard. So 65 is about 2,700 RPM. I'd have to do the math on that tire, but that gear ratio, but and the tire height and all that, but I'm guessing we're sitting at like, I don't know, they're probably 410s. Just shooting from the hip. What do you think, 410s? Yeah, probably 410s. Maybe not, maybe they're 373s. Maybe that carb is just, it's either like accelerate or decelerate. It doesn't want to hold a steady speed. What's that mean? Comment down below if you know what it means when your carburetor will not maintain a steady RPM. It either has to be accelerated or decelerated. 2,500 is 60 mile an hour. Big blocks like RPMs, right, Duff? No? It'll be okay. Keep her under 4 grand for extended periods of time. You're good to go. Drives down the road straight. We got a pretty stiff north breeze today, so I mean, that's definitely not helping the steering situation, but it's not pulling bad. Probably does pull really bad to the right, and that way with the wind it's just compensating, so it seems like it drives good today, but I guess we'll find out when we drive back the other direction. Alright, I gotta roll this window up. I can cut glass over here.
Woo! Can you close that window, Chandler? My nipples could cut glass over here.
Carburetor and heater. Put those at the top of the priority list there, Duff, man. Okay? Yeah, keep those on the list, because it's too cool to not have heat. Unless somebody else wants to own this thing. Price and availability in the description. We cannot keep them all. I was thinking if I kept this thing, drop both fuel tanks, put fuel pumps in them, different fuel tanks, then put like a sniper or a Edelbrock or some type of fuel injection on it, and then obviously fix the heater. Put a remote start on this thing so I can just lean over from the kitchen table in the morning and this thing fires right up. It's nice and toasty warm when I go to get in it. Wouldn't that be nice stuff? Yeah, I think so too. Fuel injection on dailies, winter dailies, kind of a must. I'm getting old, like, I like fuel injection and overdrive and heat and remote start. So that's what that's what's the beauty of the old TBIs, the 350, the 5.7s, LSs. Is fuel injection you can put remote start on. Yeah, 65 is 2750. Motored along pretty good. I don't know that I would want to drive this thing 80 all day long. I don't know that it would like it either. But yeah, maybe that carburetor's kind of coming out of it. Seems like it cruises along all right. I do dig the two-tone. The whole Silverado package. Having a manual floor shift for the four-wheel drive. These late models with their knobs and their buttons and such that never seem to want to work when you need them to the most. Yeah, not a big fan of those. But these power windows, give me manual windows. These things anyway. They're so slow and terrible. But you know, beggars can't be choosers. You can't have all the amenities of the Silverado and have roll-up windows. I mean, you can. Carpet, I think that was an amenity too. Kind of indifferent to that. Carpet's okay, but nothing wrong with the vinyl floor mat either. I do like the cloth seats better than the vinyl. They're sticky and sweaty in the summer. In the winter, they're frickin' freezing cold. But let's be honest, the seats in all these old Squarebodies are shot by now anyway, and either need recovering or updated with an 88 to 94 seat or something like that. One of these days I'm going to buy one of the nice aftermarket bench seats. Like, can't even think of the names, but there's a couple of companies that make some really nice seats with like built-in armrests and cup holders. Yeah, They want like real money. They want more than I pay for most of these vehicles for those things. And then you still gotta get them covered. Inflation, it's not real. Smell that, Duff? Is that oil burning off the exhaust manifolds? Oh, speaking of burning, 190. That ain't so bad. I can live with that. 190. It's probably got a 185 thermostat, 180 thermostat, so that's opened up. Just flowing, cooling, good to go. A little rattle going on back here. Something behind the seat. Oh, it's that. It's the tire iron jack thinger. That's what's rattling. Good call, Duff. Good call. Definitely got to get the heat thing situated because windows keep frogging up. Brakes are good, as they should be, because pretty much all new, except for the wheel cylinders and shoes in the back. Axle seal, we got to put that in. Oh, we got to figure out that pinion yoke deal and universal joint on the front drive shaft. Probably should send the drive shaft out to get rebuilt. Old vehicles, you gotta love them. Just money pits. Labor of love. I guess that's probably what we should say. The Turbo 400 looked pretty dry, so that's a plus. Seems like every TH350 and TH400 that we come across is just a grease ball, so hopefully this one isn't leaking. And like I said, it shifts like bang. It's nice firm shifts, ain't it, Duff? Just the way we like it. Alrighty, everybody's been asking about when I'm gonna do a square body next, so hopefully this video does well, because a lot of people asking. Hopefully they're watching. Square bodies do okay for us, don't they, Duff? Yeah. I like them because kind of know our way around them. I've had a few. 5 or 9. Oh. Rides like a 1-ton though. I see why the inspection cover was off. It's making a little noise. And the oil pressure isn't exactly pegged. So I don't know if we got a lower end noise or something's rattling in there. I'm guessing there's either a noise in the engine, and that's why they gave up on it, or they misdiagnosed a noise in the engine. I don't know, it's not like a loud noise, but yeah. Oil pressure, you gotta blip the throttle to get her to come off 0, so not looking good for the old big block. That explain the oil smell? Somebody ran out of oil, Duff? Because it burns it? I don't know. Let's just hope we make it home. Silly big blocks. I'm not a big block fan. Like, give me a good old carbureted small block or an LS. Like, don't get me wrong, a factory big block, you know, SS 396, 454, Chevelle, Camaro, whatever, is pretty cool. But like, in a pickup, you know, they were probably the cat's pajamas, you know, back in this thing's day for pulling and whatnot. But now with where diesels are at and the horsepower they're getting out of these late model engines, you get reliability and they run forever and they drink a lot less gas. I don't know. I mean, we do have, I don't know, 4 or 5 rigs in the fleet with big blocks, but we don't ever drive them because they're not that, they just don't do it for me. To each their own, though. I mean, some people think big blocks are the best thing since sliced bread. More power to them. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the shop, my grandpa and my uncle, we would get people, I don't know, at least once a month somebody would come knocking on our door asking if we had any big blocks for sale. And at that time we had one of these, but a crew cab 2-wheel drive that had a big block in that we did a lot of pulling with. And then there was something in the yard, oh, the hauler that had one in it. And then there was like a new spare one under the bench or something like that. Oh, that's the one that I got in my short bed. Yeah, I ended up with all the big blocks in the yard pretty much. But yeah, they wanted to buy it. They were paying like $700, $1,000 for core 454s. Just pick up 454s. They didn't have to be anything special. They didn't care what heads they had. But we'd never sell them because whatever, didn't want to get rid of them because we were using them or had plans for them, whatever. Now, I mean, you could buy like a pretty complete setup for that kind of money, which $700 30 years ago was a heck of a lot more, or it went further than $700 in 2023, unfortunately. But inflation isn't real. Don't let anybody tell you that. So that's my thoughts on big blocks. When they work good, I like them. When they knock like this, I just as soon replace them with something else, like a small block or an LS. I wouldn't stick a lot of money into this thing. I'd rather stick money into something else. But they were pretty swanky in their day. Unfortunately, that was a few days ago. Right, Duff? Right. Good thing we just put brand new brakes and tires on a pickup with a lower end noise. Will it do a burnout? Oh yeah. That's why we like big blocks. She got a little greasy there. Now it'll fall on its face and shoot a rod out the side of the block. Okay, you can shift now. Yeah, she's got some snort. Well, oh, 1 ton life. Gotta love it. Everybody talks about my lowered vehicles and how terrible they must ride. Now you can't use them. They still ride better than an empty 1 ton. Oh my word. Okay, I didn't go through that ceiling with that headliner. Prevented me from it though. Yeah. I guess we'll have to tear into this thing, maybe hook up a mechanical gauge. No, I think, do these have a mechanical gauge? The early Squarebodies have just a steel line going to the gauge and it's mechanical, but I feel like the later ones have a sending unit. I don't remember, we just worked on Casper in the little short bed and 350 swap that thing that we need to finish up. And I feel like that thing had a oil pressure sender. Is that something? See, it doesn't rattle right now. 15 pounds of oil pressure at 1500 RPMs. It seemed like something was real. Ooh. 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 Hear that, Duff? Something is making noise though. It was, now it's not. And unfortunately, we are out of time, so we're not about to pull an oil pan off a big block and check bearings. We're just gonna wing it. So if you want to buy this thing, the price is now lower, but you're gonna have to dig into it yourself. Maybe the 454 could be saved. Maybe you could put an oil pump in it. Maybe some bearings. Maybe it's a faulty gauge and a loose bolt in the flex plate. I don't know. 50 mile an hour, $2,000. I don't hear any noise. We got about 12 pounds of oil pressure. Not a ton. Gosh dang it. I'm so excited about this thing. And the body on this thing is like pretty decent. The interior is pretty respectable. Suspension ain't whammied up. We got a Patina 60 and an NP205 and a Turbo 400 and a big block. We had all the good stuff. Temp's sitting right at 190. You just can't win them all. Sometimes you just can't win at all. Right, Duff? You just waiting for a mouse to fall out of that heater box or what? There's the noise. You hear it? No? It went away. It was just like a brief second. We put 6 gallons of gas in, we went about 12 miles. Are we gonna make it up the hill and make it home? Come on, baby. This is big block life right here. Wondering if you'll make it home on 6 gallons of gas. I mean, just make it home in general, but make it home on the fuel that you have. Oh, for cheese and rice. Come on, baby, at least make the next approach. Oh, she's really surgy. The gas is just sloshing around in the tank. Now it's running fine. I don't understand. Son of a biscuit. Oh, there's old Tommy Pastrami behind us. Just Jacob Dillon it with one headlight. Hear it knocking, Duff? Nah. How about now? Super great subscriber forgot to tell us that pickup he's selling has a bad 454, and they definitely knew about it. I bet that's why the cluster is apart. They were trying to swap a cluster to see if it had oil pressure, and that's why the inspection cover is off. They were trying to see where that noise is coming from. Yeah, you hear that? Nah. That's more annoying than an oil fan. Like, can you wag your tail to the whap, 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 to the rod knocking? Not quite fast enough. You guys want to hear it? If you can't right now? Well, we're at, 7.5 pounds of oil pressure at idle. No. Not good. Not good at all. Oh yeah, she's definitely cooked, guys. I don't know, cooked. It's bad. It's got a real bad rod knock. So if you want to own this thing, plan on going through a 454 or putting something else in it. So yeah, it's a pretty good pickup though. We took it, it cleaned up really nice. It's got fresh brakes, fresh tires, so ready to go. Otherwise we'll just kick her in the weeds and use her for parts, or maybe we'll find a big block or LS swap it or GPI swap it. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I'm definitely not in the mood to rebuild a big block. So anyway, until the next time, remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done so long as you're having fun. And rod knocks are definitely not fun. So thanks for watching. Go check out our merch, mortske.com. Check out other videos. We'll see you next time. Duff, what are you hunting? It looks like way more fun than this piece of trash. Let's start. Come on, baby. Let's see if we can limp it back in the shop. We'll look at the reaction on Mojo's face. Icky. We just can't have nice things. Does the horn work? Heck yeah. We can't even call it a beater with a heater because, I mean, it's got a heater, just don't heat. What do you think, Dump? We jump a can of STP in there, will it go out of it? Oh, sure enough, here's the U-bolts for the rear end too. Dang it. I got a noise in my pickup. You want to come take a look at it? I don't know. Let's see if your fine-tuned ears can tell me. Lifter? Sounds like a rod to me. It ain't good. It's got oil in it. It ain't got a lot of pressure though.